Good morning. How are you today?
Good, you?
Good, thank you. Thank you for coming today. I appreciate you. We've been talking about psychological disorders starting from the last Thursday. And today, maybe we will talk more deeply about psychological disorder. And maybe later chapter will be therapy and counseling. So I will just kind of go over a little bit. If you're looking at this woman, how do you think? Maybe if she is your instructor for introduction to psychology. She's wearing that outfit, and how would you feel?
I don't know if that's, the proper outfit for a professor, but
Okay.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not gonna judge her too much, but
Yeah. So it's really when you say abnormal and normal, we are talking about psychological disorders. So we may say those are more like a abnormal behavior, right, and the abnormal thoughts, right. So if you're thinking about this woman wearing tattoo and very tight maybe dress and coming to the class and teach you, I mean, it would be really cool, right? But we may maybe kind of analyze maybe that behavior is not maybe typical, maybe not normal, right? Yeah. Do you kind of agree with that?
Yeah.
So when you're thinking about somebody suffers some, anxiety, sometimes it's really hard to say normal versus abnormal, right? Because that person feel anxious and everybody kind of feel like, oh wow, that person kind of showing anxiety right now. But actually, that person still could do that, handle and managing those situations. It's not that bothering much to do maybe daily function. In that case, it can be normal because some people can be really anxious, right? But I guess maybe a little bit of maybe depressed symptoms going on, and maybe that person really hard time kind of get up in the morning from their like a bed and come to school, and attending school can be really challenging. In that case, maybe it's not normal, right? Usually we can at least get up and
yeah.
we kind of set up the like our schedule. We can come to class. So in that sense, we want to say that's more like a not normal, like a abnormal. So we've been talking about normal versus abnormal. It's really hard to make like a cut kind of decision because there are some gray areas, right? Yeah. So since we've been talking about it, let's do these activities. Shade of abnormality. Basically, there are four different stories here, so we will read together. Rate each of these people using the following scale. Number one, basically okay. Psychotherapy is not necessary because we are talking about psychological disorder and abnormality this whole chapter. And number two, mild disturbance, psychotherapy should be considered. And number three, significant disturbance, psychotherapy is definitely required. And number four, severe disturbance, maybe hospitalized, should be maybe necessary. So starting from first episode, if you don't mind, could you read Bob?
Bob is a very intelligent 25-year-old member of a religious organization that is based on Buddhism. Bob's working for this organization caused considerable conflict between him and his parents, who are devout Catholics. Recently, Bob experiences acute spells of nausea and fatigue that prevent him from working and which have forced him to return home to live with his parents. Various medical tests are being conducted, but as yet, no physical causes of his problems have been found.
Okay, thank you so much. So those are situations Bob is having some, issues in his daily life. If you are maybe a counselor and therapist, there are kind of numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. How would you rate for the Bob's story? I mean, there's no right answer because it's really a subjective judgment. Yeah. So.
I mean, at first I was going to say probably basically okay. Psychotherapy is not necessary. I mean, I don't know. It'd still be good to talk to somebody, but I mean,
Yeah.
at the same time, it does say that it was preventing him from working and all
Yeah.
that. So maybe it's a mild disturbance.
Okay, like a number two.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I will put between kind of number one and two because it doesn't say like a severe disturbance.
Yeah.
I guess I totally agree with you. Okay, let's go to Mary. Mary is down. Yeah, would you like to read?
Mary is a 30-year-old musician who is very dedicated and successful in her work as a teacher in a local high school and as a part-time member of local music groups. Since her marriage 5 years ago, which ended in divorce after 6 months, she has dated very few men. She often worries that her time is running out for establishing a good relationship with a man, getting married, and raising a family. Her friends tell her that she gets way too anxious around men and that she needs to relax a little in general.
Okay.
One.
That's the story about Mary. Yeah, I agree with it. It's a
One.
one. I mean, everybody can experience that kind of little bit of disturbance in our life, but we still keep going. But we need to consider maybe the Mary's perspective. She may suffer maybe severely. So getting getting a therapy or maybe counseling, it's really depending on individual decision. And nobody can say, oh, it's a totally okay, Mary, just that's everybody will experience. But for Mary, maybe she needs a therapy. But I agree with you. Maybe it's a one, right? Okay. How about Jim's story? Jim is on the right top. Yeah, Jim.
Jim was vice president of the freshman class at a local college and played on the school's football team. Later that year, he dropped out of these activities and gradually became more and more withdrawn from friends and family, neglecting to shave and shower. He began to look dirty and unhealthy. He spent most of his time alone in his room and sometimes complained to his parents that he heard voices in the curtains and in the closet. In his sophomore year, he dropped out of the school entirely. With increasing anxiety and agitation, he began to worry that the Nazis were plotting to kill his family and kidnap him.
Okay, so it's a Jim's case. It's a little serious, I think,
3.
right? Would you put like a 3?
Yeah.
Significance disturbance and psychotherapy is definitely required.
Yes.
Okay. Not hospitalized yet?
No.
No.
You gotta figure out what's going on.
Okay.
And then maybe.
Maybe it doesn't maybe work and maybe gets severe, maybe possibly. Okay, thank you. How about the last story,
Larry, a homosexual who has lived for 3 years with a man he met in graduate school, works as a psychologist in a large hospital. Although competent in his work, he often feels strained by the pressures of his demanding position. An added source of tension on the job is his not being able to confide in all his coworkers about his private life. Most of his leisure activities are with good friends who belong to the gay subculture.
Okay, so how would you rate those ladies' story?
I would say at first 1, but I mean, like you said, it also depends on how they actually feel and whether they want help, think they need help. I mean, other than that, like, he's still got friends. He still goes and does leisure activities. He's still able to work. Like, maybe he just needs a little more free time. I don't know.
Yeah, very good. I totally agree with you. I mean, it can be just like maybe it's okay, totally okay, like a 1, versus maybe he may get little attention and help because it's more like a sexual minority group and outside the pressure can be really bigger for him. But it's really depending on him. He thinks maybe it's totally okay, maybe that's my life, versus maybe stressed out too much about that situation. So do you feel like this is interesting? Yeah, somebody who suffers psychological disorder. Do we need to maybe put some like a psychotherapy or maybe counseling service because maybe he or she needs it, right? Versus, totally okay. Everybody go through that phases. So yeah, that was interesting activity with you. So let's go. Actually, we talk about that. abnormal versus normal, we need to consider several factors. And when we talk about abnormality, for example, like a depression or anxiety, number one reason can be biological reason, which is maybe malfunction of your brain, structure of your brain, or the chemical, those neurotransmitters doesn't release maybe correctly and not the amount of when needed. So those are more like a biological theory of abnormality, kind of supported in that direction. And psychological theory of abnormality, maybe because of that person's very unique personality and very high neuroticism. Do you remember like an ocean as a big five in personality? Yeah, chapter. Yeah. So O stand for openness, and C stand for conscientiousness, right? Yeah. And O, C, and E stand for social being, like extroversion. Yeah. So O, C, E, and A stand for. I totally agree with you. Agreeableness, yeah.
Agreeableness.
And then the last N was neuroticism. So neuroticism is if you have that maybe high, the personality-wise, you worried all the time and anxious all the time, so depressed more often. So if you have a high neuroticism, probably it can be related more psychological reason why you do suffer depression and anxiety. Yeah, part of that. But also biological reasons too, maybe not secreting proper hormone and those neurotransmitters and brain function and brain structures, right? And social cultural theory of abnormality, maybe your reason who suffer depression and anxiety, it's not from yourself. It's not from your brain or it's not from your body. It's more like a surrounding environment. You live very discouraging environment and co-workers, and you really don't want to live, maybe work in the places. So it's not your fault at all. You're okay, you're a healthy person, but environment, it really matter, put you in some minority group and lots of stress. So it can be the reason you feel depressed. Not because of your brain function or maybe psychological reason. But when we make a decision, try to see those are all the psychological disorders when you're kind of thinking about that. Social phobia, anorexia, and borderline personality disorder, generalized anxiety disorder, OCD. Yeah, you heard about those, maybe some words and those terminology. So obsessive compulsive disorder and major depressive disorder and bipolar and schizophrenia. So today is the day we are going to go over one by one. So this chapter is kind of gently introduce all different kind of psychological disorder and try to find the reason. And we are talking about normal versus abnormal. Possibility is biological reason, psychological reason, and social cultural reason. Right? So underline, it will be on your exam. Your exam, by the way, this Friday, you will take exam 4. So exam 4 will cover later chapter, which is chapter 10, chapter 12, chapter 10, chapter 11, chapter 12. 3 chapters, right? So it will not include chapter 13, 14, and 15. That will be your exam 5, yeah. But make sure you will take the online exam this Friday. We don't have a class this Thursday, yeah, because I'm going to conference. So enjoy your free time, but don't forget to take exam this Friday, covering chapter 10, 11, and 12. Okay, good. So we will talk about those all different kind of psychological disorder today, and when we kind of thinking about what causes all different kind of psychological disorder, we need to consider biopsychosocial theory of abnormality. It combined everything, sounds like, right? Bio means biological, and psycho means psychological, and social means social cultural factors when you're thinking about contributing factors for supporting psychological disorders. right? Do you feel like it kind of makes sense? Because when somebody suffer depression and anxiety, maybe there's some like a main factors to cause, but overall, three of those elements kind of combine, interconnected each other, and try to show those depression, anxiety, and schizophrenia. But thinking about that, somebody who suffer depression and anxiety, I mean, every psychological disorder can be really hard for them, those people who suffer. But comparing to schizophrenia, anxiety and depression can happen more commonly, and treat more easily. I mean, comparing to like a schizophrenia. So when you kind of looking at this graph, you will realize schizophrenia, bipolar, and major depressive disorder, you do see more blue graph, right? Blue graph. That means those are more influenced by biological factor. And when you're looking at social phobia, anorexia, and borderline personality disorder, you see more kind of orange graph, orange graph. That means psychological reason. Maybe one of more the biggest reason cause those depression and eating disorders and all things. So we will see one by one today. It's kind of interesting, right? People do suffer all different kind of psychological disorder. Maybe this is the chapter we need to understand them better. Once we learn about, there are so many different kind of psychological disorders, we don't need to discriminate them or stigma, give them anything else. We just want to understand them better, and we acknowledge maybe their hardness and maybe try to find some solution together. That's the kind of main purpose of this chapter and later chapter. So guess what? All the psychologists and psychiatrists and all the medical doctors try to think about maybe we need to have some book. When somebody suffer any different kind of psychological disorder, we want to diagnose, right? And try to see the maybe symptom as well. So underline DSM. You need to remember what does DSM stand for. So DSM stands for Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. So it was starting from a very long time, 1950, first edition published, 1952, and included only around, but around 100 disorders. So we know here several anxiety, maybe depression and bipolar and schizophrenia. So, and also more detailed psychological disorder. It was included about 106, 100 disorders. And recent one is published in 2013. Those are fifth edition. But right now, we are living 2025, right? So even like 12 years later. So we recently got DSM-5TR. That's kind of most recent edition of the DSM. So what does the DSM stand for?
And Statistical Manual of Mental Disorder.
Okay, yeah. So I know, Daniel, you want to be a nurse. So if you may be working in that the field of psychiatry, maybe you may need to maybe you heard about that terminology too. So here, the book, those DSM, those book, get some like a criteria for each psychological disorder and possible symptoms too. So here, DSM-5TR means Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorder. Fifth edition, TR means text revision. That was like a most recent one. So does include, try to include every new dimensions of psychological disorder too. So new disorders, if you kind of read those premenstrual dysphobic disorder and disruptive mood, dysregulation disorder, binge eating disorder. So try to kind of more detailed kind of analysis of each disorder too. So instead of eating disorder, binge eating disorder and anorexia and bulimia, try to analyze more detailed. So beginning to 1950, only, but still I think it's a lot, around 100 disorders. And here, published like a fifth edition was over 900 pages. I think it's kind of keep increasing and adding more and more and more. So I will show that's the 19 categories of disorder in the DSM 5th edition here. So category, you don't need to memorize anything else, but just kind of see, understand. They kind of put the categories and criteria. And, meet those criteria or not. So if you're looking at here, neurodevelopmental disorders, example will be autism spectrum disorders. We will talk about it today. And specific learning disorder as a young child and maybe adolescent. And intellectual disability and ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. We'll talk about those autism spectrum disorders and ADHD as a neurodevelopmental disorders too. So those are all the categories, right? And I will show more. And here, if you're looking at the category, it's really pretty detailed, right? Each individual category is really detailed. Feeding and eating disorders. If you're looking at here, anorexia nervosa, bulimia nervosa, binge eating disorder, that was recently added and more kind of divided into. But there are more types of eating disorder too. So I guess every edition, we are kind of adding more and more, kind of increasing, expanding of those book of criteria. So here, but this one got some, the DSM got some critics too. Sometimes if people suffer anxiety or disorder, maybe eating disorder too, it's not like a yes and no. It's not have it or not have it. But when you make some criteria and try to diagnose, if depending on all different people's situation, do you have that symptom? Maybe or not, yes and no, put it into eating disorder. Oh, no, maybe not eating disorder. But when you kind of live in this world, there are so many gray area. It's more like a process, not yes and no. It's not like a categorical, more like a dimensional, and more like there are overlapping areas too. So, every policy and every, book, maybe it can be criticized by somebody else. But maybe you need to think about, there are so many categories putting into normal versus abnormal. But that's more like a categorical. But in our life, there are so many gray and dimensional elements as well. So we need to consider, but still remember DSM. That's the kind of commonly used diagnostic kind of manual. Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorder. 5th edition TR, text revision, is our recent the version. Okay, so here, let's go one by one. Yeah, so anxiety disorder. Have you ever maybe heard about your friends and maybe your family and, oh, I have some anxiety issues. Yeah, anxiety issues. Yeah, and people realize. Maybe I will introduce a little bit about some cultural difference too. When I kind of growing up in South Korea, nobody talk about psychological disorder, even like anxiety or depression. They may have it and they may suffer, but do not actively seeking any help. Unlike other, like a health problem, maybe I have some heart disease, I have some leg problem, I have like a back problem. Psychological disorder is kind of not telling, like a taboo to kind of discuss and talk when I was young. Yeah, but not anymore. People go see like a counselor and therapist, very often and common, just like here. But it has kind of trend, right? In the past, people do not want to share and let other people know you have some psychological disorder, like even like anxiety or depression. But now, those stigma is much less. Do you kind of agree with that? Yeah, people kind of freely talk about, oh, I have some bipolar and eating disorder. I mean, they just open. When they kind of talk about their psychological disorder, it's kind of much less stigmatized. I mean, those are people, just like you, like a typical people who may have some, anxiety and depression. So
more common than you think too.
Uh-huh.
A lot more common than you think.
Yeah, all of them.
I mean, heck, I didn't think I'd ever meet somebody with a multiple personality disorder or whatever, but I met somebody. I was like asking her why she had, broke up in the last relationship, but she was like, "Well, I have another personality," and she ruined our relationship. I'm like, "What?"
Oh, that's
Yeah, I was like, "That's
very.
wild." She
Oh.
named her and everything, like gave her a name and
Uh-huh.
said that whenever she comes out, she completely screws her life up. I'm like, "Oh wow."
Wow. Yeah, today we are going to talk about those DID, dissociative, identity disorder. So,
Mm-hmm.
wow, I mean, you can talk about, like that person's experience, and that would be really, I mean, I've never met yet. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I met so many like students and, colleagues who suffer anxiety and depression, but, that's because that's rare.
Yeah.
Comparing to anxiety and depression, those are really rarely happen commonly. I mean, comparing to
Yeah.
other psychological disorders. So, yeah. So, thank you for mentioning those. So, anxiety disorders. So, Daniel, if you're thinking about your life, sometimes do you feel anxious?
I definitely have felt anxious before,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, when do you feel anxious? Just curious. Usually.
More or less just, I feel like my type of anxious is when I'm worrying. Just like when I'm worrying about something. I don't really actually have anxiety attacks or anything, I don't think. But like whenever I'm worried about something that I mean, even if it's exciting the next day, I'm like so anxious that I'm not hungry, I don't want to eat,
Okay.
or
You
like
kind of
I can't
freeze.
sleep, because my brain's thinking
Yeah, keep kind of
nonstop or
thinking and
whatever.
thinking and rolling
Yeah,
and
but I don't
rolling.
have any like bad anxiety attacks, but
Uh-huh. Yeah, thank you for sharing. I mean, I want to say, I mean, I'm anxious all the time, pretty much. I mean, before coming to, this class, this is like a TV class, and, I feel comfortable once they begin to, but before I feel like a little butterflies and kind of little
yeah.
anxious is going on. But still, I do come here and I do teach, right? So those anxiousness and anxiety, maybe those are anxiousness, maybe not anxiety. I mean, anxiety and anxiousness, it will be okay, like a mild, like anxiety and anxiousness can even help you. For me, I need to prepare more whenever I feel those. Maybe I need to prepare more, maybe read one more time and try to maybe deep breathing and prepare for myself, right?
Yeah.
So kind of reduce my anxiety in that way. So a little bit of anxiousness can help you better presenter, help you maybe more successful, whatever you do, right? But because of those anxiousness, you cannot teach and you cannot come to class and you cannot do daily function. Maybe that's the time, that's the moment we need to consider, maybe I need to get some therapy. I need to get some help, right? Yeah, that's the major point. Entire this chapter, we will talk about psychological disorder. You will know as a person, maybe I need it or not, right? So even though maybe she need to get some help, obviously, but if she thinks okay, it's okay. It's kind of a diagnosis of all the different kind of psychological disorder, right? Yeah. So here, is anxiety always bad? I mean, it can be good thing. Maybe kind of enhance your performance because a little anxiousness as a maybe professional dancer, you practice more and more, right? So it can be a good thing, but usually too much is not that good because you do not concentrate on your work and you cannot do well, even though you prepared a lot. For example, can be test anxiety. Daniel, do you have you experienced test anxiety?
Oh yeah.
When was it?
Every time I have a test.
I do too. I do too. Even I'm adult, and whenever sometimes I need to do some tests for some certificate. I feel anxious, and also, RSU as a faculty, we need to go through some computer training session too. And at the end of all the training, there's some like a test. It's an online test we already covered, but I feel anxious. What if I do not get the right answer
Yeah.
and all things, right? So even online tests, you feel anxious? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on, how hard it is or whatever, but I get more anxious whenever I'm having to do in-person
Sure.
presentation,
Oh,
like in
presentation.
front of people, or like doing anything in front of
Yeah.
people. Yeah, I get more anxious during that than a test.
I see, I see. Thank you for sharing. So, if I think about my test anxiety, I had a very severe test anxiety when I was like a junior high, I think sixth or seventh grade. It was happened during the math exam. I mean, I used to love math. And I really like it and try to do my best. And on that exam, I did my best. I feel like maybe I will get a very good score for this exam because I studied so much, and maybe I will be really enjoyed whenever I kind of see my score. So I kind of put my effort and study hard. And on that day, somehow the exam was like I think 1 hour, the period wise, and there are so many questions we need to serve about like a 30 or 35. I felt like I don't have much time to finish my whole exam. And I feel really anxious, sudden anxious, because oh Sarah, you don't have time to finish this whole set, and it's really important your exam. And the worst of thing is we are using some Scantron. Are you familiar with the Scantron? And here we use the Scantron with pencil and eraser. So you can kind of using some pencil, and if you got the wrong answer, you kind of erase it and maybe remark, right? But in Korea, it was permanent marker. You need to use specific permanent marker for the Scantron.
Oh, wow.
So I have all the exam sheet here, and teacher told us, oh, only 10 more minutes, but I see like 10 questions I didn't, do yet. And I've sudden, my anxiousness kind of going up, and I need to, put my answers in the Scantron at least, like 20 questions. But my hands is kind of shaking, and because I still remember that feeling was so bad, very shaky and anxious, and my blurriness of vision, like a number one answer D, and kind of shaking those D, and this is like a permanent marker, and Sarah, you have only 10 minutes. And after that, I developed anxiety, and especially in the mathematics. So other classes, it's okay, but those experience, one-time experience, it's kind of haunted me. So whenever I take the math exam and overall like exam, kind of influence badly. So I totally understand, because some of the students, they are really doing well and very engaging during the class. But whenever we take an exam, their exam score is not the best. So I totally understand that situation. So I try to have some chance, some reflection paper, so you can make up your score if we are not a good test taker. So I totally understand. So that's my story related with anxiety. But now I become adult, but sometimes I do dream. In my dream, I'm kind of going back to my junior high and high school. And I don't have a time. I need to kind of keep moving my hands, and I mean it's bad. But I didn't dream, but it's like a once in a while I do that kind of dream. So I guess it's still trauma in my brain, I guess. Yeah. So here, the primary disorder discussed in this chapter is GAD, generalized anxiety disorder. Not like a specific thing, but overall your anxious level is pretty high. That's a generalized anxiety disorder. And the second one is specific phobia. So Daniel, if you're thinking about, is there any specific like a situation make you really anxious? For example, like maybe inside of elevator, some very small like a space, like an area, or height, yeah?
Claustrophobic a little bit at times, but
overall, yeah, okay.
yeah, I'm good.
Yeah,
I
you
don't
can
have a
go.
phobia.
Yeah.
I don't have too crazy of a phobia anyway.
Yeah. So on the line, specific phobia is it will happen only that specific situation. So overall daily life, no problem. But whenever you go up high, I cannot breathe and faint, and that can happen. So that's the specific phobia. We will talk about it. And social anxiety disorder. I know, Daniel, you told me you're more like an introverted, but still you can come to class and communicate with other people, no problem. If there's some like a social gathering, you can go. Maybe you are not enjoying too much, but
no.
I guess you can go and still talk to people and attending there, right? Yeah. So that's a totally okay. Maybe a little shy person can be that's your personality, but social anxiety is different level. because of those anxiousness and maybe worry about those relationship. Even I cannot attend any kind of those social gathering or party. So that's a little different story. And panic disorder, those are moments. It's really hard to explain, but suddenly happen. Maybe you go to some stadium, maybe football stadium, and suddenly you feel like a sudden like a fear kind of come to you and cannot breathe, and you don't know how to do, and maybe your heart goes so fast and you feel like, oh, I'm having heart attack. And if you go to emergency room, doctor check everything. Oh, you look everything okay, because maybe it maybe can be severe anxiety can happen, and those are more like a panic disorder. That moment, it's really hard to explain. But the problem is, once you experience those panic, disorder, you are worrying about what if I have that moment again. So that's the concerning, but we will talk about that one too. So OCD, have you ever heard about OCD?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what is it, OCD, if you understand OCD?
I mean, like, really obsessive over everything being so perfect, pristine, organized. Like you're constantly going back and doing the same thing again,
Yeah.
even though you just did it.
Yes, it's very good. So washing your hands, how many times do you wash your hands per day? Kind of overall.
Overall, I don't know, it depends on how many times I go to the bathroom. 10, 15 times.
Yeah, so we were I do too, like wash my hands, because I'm kind of worried about maybe catching any germs and maybe dirty and all things, right? But there are some people, they're worried about too much, about maybe getting some, disease and germs and
Yeah.
some, like bacteria. They need to wash their hands constantly. I heard that those people more than 50 times per day, and they have a really hard time having those mark on your fingers, because it's kind of always kind of washing their hands, because they're obsessed. What if I get some catching some disease, some infections? I need to wash my hands. Keep kind of washing your hands. Those are more like ritual things, more like feeling better and calming down. Washing your hands, those behavior. So we will talk about obsessive compulsive disorder. That's relating with anxiety disorder. So we already know, so we will check one by one. The first one is GAD, generalized anxiety disorder. So it's not particular things. Overall, you feel really anxious and having hard time to do your daily life. If it is the case, usually you will see a doctor and they're getting some medicine. It will help you, and also therapy and counseling too. So here, you worry, like I worry a lot of things. I mean, we have some fear kind of begin to and keep kind of thinking and rolling about those thoughts. But still in the morning, you can just kind of do the other things. I mean, do like your, begin your daily life and, involving any, like your school activities and maybe friends, and that's okay. That's not anxiety. I mean, that's a little anxiousness, and we kind of worry about it, but that's all the human beings we do too, right? Yeah, but I guess it can be some disorder and psychological concerning. That's the point. If you cannot do your daily function, that's the criteria of abnormality. Yeah, we've been learning about those, 4 different people's story. How would you rate them? As maybe that person need therapy versus not. It's really depending on individual difference, and also, if they can do function of daily life or not. That can be one of the big criteria. Okay. So here, specific phobia on the line, let's kind of talk about this. It will not happen daily, but at the specific situation. I know somebody will really fearful about height, acrophobia. Yeah, if you have a severe height, it's really hard to even go to big, like a high mountain, because they feel really dizzy and disoriented, and maybe cannot breathe well. Yeah. Do you enjoy like going like up and roller coaster and all things? Yeah.
Yes and no. But I like doing it because I'm scared of it.
Oh, because yeah.
So
you,
like I am
kind of
kind of scared
enjoy
of
that
heights.
kind of
And
moment.
if I go too high or whatever, I'll get like kind of dizzy, kind of like my vision will kind of
Yeah.
spin.
Uh-huh.
But like at the same time, I kind of like that feeling in my gut that I get whenever I'm doing
I
some of that
see.
stuff.
I see. Yeah, that means you don't have any anxiety about this. I mean, I do not enjoy any rides. So amusement park, I do not go there because everything is scary to me, and I do not ride roller coaster because after that, disoriented and feeling nauseous, and maybe why people pay the money and then go to the roller coaster. But I totally understand. People love roller coaster usually. Yeah, they enjoy. Probably both. Some fearfulness and anxiousness at the same time. It will be fun and it will kind of go fast rider too.
If it
Right?
doesn't scare you, then it's not a good roller coaster.
Yeah. So that's the height. Snake. Snake is okay to you. Yeah.
I mean, I kill
Okay. No
them.
fear.
Usually, like I mean, I'm not like too.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I don't like snakes, that's for sure. But
Mhm.
I'm not like terrified.
Yeah.
If it swam at me, I'd scream like a little girl, but
Uh-huh.
because I've been there before, wading through a creek and one just beelines it towards me.
Wow, that can be really scary.
Oh, I ran through
Yeah.
water.
Yes. Went through the water. Yeah. So there's somebody really, having some phobia of the snakes. Even I say snakes, maybe looking at the picture, they already got some, anxiousness. That's the phobia. That's the phobia. And thunder and lightning, since we live in Oklahoma, is it thunder and lightning is okay with you?
Oh yeah, I love storms.
Storm
I wanted to
chaser?
be a storm chaser when I was younger.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm scared. In my house, there's a very small shelter. So whenever I got some siren, I want to go inside, and it's really tiny. Kind of, area will be that like only this much. Yeah, maybe a couple of chairs can be inside. It's built in my garage. But whenever I hear those siren, I go in there and try to kind of taking on my phone. So thunder and lightning, astrophobia, and dogs. I know you love dogs, right? So no phobia. I used to have not the phobia, but I was scared of dog. But now I feel okay. But in deep peace my mind, I was thinking maybe even though that tiny dog, maybe dog can bite me because I got bitten when I was like 5 years old.
Yeah.
So I have not that good memory of dog around me.
Yeah.
But still, I'm okay. I can touch and I can hug. Yeah, that's the dog. And spiders. Is spiders okay with you?
I kill those too. But
Okay.
like typically if it's a good spider or whatever, like I'm not gonna
Kind of
worry
spider
about
can
it.
maybe eat some flies and bugs.
But if it looks like it would be poisonous, I'm killing it. Because I
Oh.
absolutely hate the idea of getting bit by a brown recluse. Like you
Yeah.
can't feel it when it bites you, but then it like rots your flesh. Yeah, no.
Oh, yeah, scary.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but I know there are so many people who scared of spiders and snakes. Yeah, for them, even looking at the spider, they will cry or maybe scared. Yeah,
Yeah,
they
I
have
mean,
some phobia
if
if
it's
they have a phobia.
climbing on my back or my shoulder or something, I'm gonna freak out. But
Oh yeah.
other than that, I'm not like
You can just
terrified.
yes, and jumps. So jumps. I mean, we do. I think with Daniel and I, we are okay. I mean,
Yeah.
jumps kind of we worry, but we wash our hands and that's it. We are not having
At
any.
times, I'll catch myself being kind of like, I don't know if I want to do that or eat that or whatever because of germs. And then I'll think back to whenever I was in the army eating with dirty ass hands or fishing with dirty ass hands and eating a sandwich or something. And I'm like, I'll be all right.
Yeah, yeah, and also 5 second rule. You just kind of.
Yep.
It will be okay, and maybe it will boost our immune system because you're kind of having those bacteria and maybe germs and maybe our stomach kind of kill because of all the acid, right?
Yeah.
And then we will maybe much better. But we do think in that way, but some people think that's not right things to think, right? You need to constantly be cautious of the germs. How about the closed spaces, claustrophobia? Sometimes you do.
Sometimes not. Because like I say that and then I'll climb into a cave. Like a cave where all you can do is drop down into it between a crack and stuff.
Okay,
I've
okay.
done that, but like at other times I'm like, look at a cluttered space on a desk and I can't even You know what I mean? I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think I do have a little bit. They're kind of developing when I used in Korea. I used a lot of public transportation. I remember there was like a junior high, and it's like a morning time. Everybody get on that bus because if you miss that bus, you will be late. So even there's like a pusher is there are people kind of helping you get on that bus. Yeah, and I really do not like the feeling like all people kind of pack each other and kind of squeezed and go together. I mean, it's only like maybe 2 minutes and 3 minutes, yeah, the time wise, but I feel like 1 hour, kind of cannot breathe well and sweating. So
Yeah.
kind of developing like a very small space. And I went to the where is the place when we drive 5 hours from here, there's a space. I totally forgot the not the Space Needle. What is that? You can go and there's like a tube, an arch.
I
Maybe.
don't know. I mean, I know what I think I know what you're talking about, but I don't know the name of it.
Yeah. So what's the place? I mean, anyway, I went there, but there's a limit. You can kind of go up to maybe elevator, but after elevator, you need to kind of walk and maybe climb so you can see the whole arch. But I cannot do that because it was so narrow space, and
Oh,
even I
yeah.
feel like very anxious, and I kind of got down. So yeah, maybe not for me. But those are, I want to say, specific phobia. Specific phobia. You are totally okay, but whenever you have that situation, that's the specific phobia. So next one is social anxiety disorder. So what's the difference between social anxiety disorder and extreme shyness? So can you think about what would be like a difference? Maybe it's different. It can be difficult to say if you're kind of looking at two people. Somebody suffers social anxiety, and the other suffers some extreme shyness. Maybe looks similar, appearance-wise, yeah, outside, right?
You'd have you'd be shy. You would be able to handle it. You would just be introverted, not talking to a whole lot of people, and be able to handle it a little bit. And then social anxiety disorder, you probably would witness a lot of people in an area and just freak out and leave. Like, okay, I cannot handle that. I gotta go.
Very good, very good. Yes, yes. So I totally agree with you. Those are more intense and irrational. Irrational means, extremely shyness people, maybe I do not like many people surround me and I don't want to go to party. I'm good, I'm content here. But I guess extremely, those are shy person versus social anxiety. Even they have a hard time to get out of their house because they are worried about meeting other people outside of their home. So it can be a little different, right? Yeah, so totally understand you. So here, panic disorder, it's an anxiety disorder characterized by sudden. So it's really hard to prevent, honestly. It's a sudden, intense, and unpredictable brief burst of anxiety. So it's more like we say panic attack. So those are panic disorder. Honestly, it was kind of similar things kind of happened to me, and when I was driving. So I was driving from here to OKC, and I'm not a good driver. I told you I do not have much good direction-wise, and I'm very low spatial ability, I guess. But at that time, I was so tired and driving from here to OKC, and it was happened suddenly. It was a sunny and bright day, and nothing like the weather was, not bad and anything else. I was kind of keep driving, but suddenly, I felt like I cannot hold my handle. I mean, I need to keep going. And maybe you may realize if kind of going here to OKC, used to be lots of under construction. And that was kind of bothering me, I guess, too. So there are so many under construction, and I need to kind of, drive, carefully. And I was so tired, and there are so many under construction thing, and it was kind of happened suddenly. I feel like I cannot drive anymore, and I cannot hold maybe my handle tightly. I just want to lose my power and energy. And I don't know what to do, and sudden fear, maybe I can maybe crush maybe to some maybe object, and there's no exit because everything is kind of under construction. So once you kind of keep driving, you need to keep driving and driving. Though, like from here to OKC, I mean, right now everything is pretty much, there's not much under construction. I went to Edmond. It's kind of going through OKC last Friday. So I know it was okay. The road was okay, but it was back then, I guess maybe 5 years ago. Yeah, it was suddenly happened. And after that, I developed a little bit of anxiety whenever I drive. So the problem was, I know the feeling, it's really bad, kind of I cannot control. And, so that's really not good feeling because you cannot control yourself and you cannot hold your wheels, those tightly, and those, thinking kind of haunted me. So even driving from my home to here, I feel like a little nauseous because it's a driving situation. It can happen again. The big problem is it's a panic disorder can happen, but as a person, you're kind of thinking of what if there's another panic attack. Another panic, that situation. So that it took time to kind of, get over those whole situations. So yeah, I know it must be really hard. Some people kind of having those panic attack kind of occasionally and couple of, routinely. Yeah, some of them. So it can be really hard because they know the feeling and they don't want to experience again and kind of worry about. That makes them more having panic attack. So that's the panic disorder. Okay, so that was the panic disorder. And OCD and obsessive compulsive disorder underlines obsession, the thought. Yeah, maybe the germs and maybe those, other infections and disease, right? Because of those thoughts, more like those thoughts, you need to do some behavior. So behavior can be, cleaning your hands. Yeah, those are more compulsion part. So obsessive, because of those obsessiveness, have you checked your stove? I mean, Daniel, whenever you go out home, from home, what if I kind of turn on my stove?
I haven't.
You haven't?
In fact, I've probably left my oven on for overnight while I slept just because I forgot to turn it off.
Okay. So that's not a big thing for you, yeah?
I mean, no. Not normally.
Yeah, but for the people, sometimes I do not do every time, but sometimes did I turn off the oven because I just cooked the egg? Kind of, So I kind of try to go back home and kind of recheck it because I don't want my house burned, right? Yeah.
Usually when I worry about that, I have left it on or have left a candle lit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm not worried about, oh, did I? I'm like, oh shit, I didn't. That's usually how it goes for me.
I see, yeah. And also I have, several stories about if you kind of put the candle and go outside and you forgot it and you just kind of want to whole your house. Yeah, yeah. So actually I saw in the neighborhood too, not here in Texas. So yeah, it was horrible, because everything is built with wood, right? So the candle was, keep there, I guess, and the people kind of went to vacation and everything was kind of collapsed. Yeah, that was really tough. Yeah. So here, OCD, obsession, and safety issues. Did you turn off those stuff, right? And compulsion means you need to check it, recheck it. So maybe you kind of halfway done to go somewhere else. You need to go back and see if it is turned on or not. So, and those people do not want to make any mistakes. Like maybe some drawing and writing stuff, and it can be really hard. Yeah, those are good things. If you suffer mild OCD, maybe you are more like a perfectionist. Try to make it better. Always put more extra, effort, right? Yeah. But I guess if you do suffer OCD, like a severe OCD, it can be a big problem, right? Because of that, you don't want to even begin to any new work, right? Yeah, so that's the OCD. So who gets anxiety disorders and obsessive compulsive disorder? So when you're thinking about anxiety, it's really commonly happen. Around 30% of people, population in the United States, they had that experience. Maybe you are not suffering now, but used to have some anxiety issues, and maybe you may have it in your future. Yeah, more like 30%, that's pretty high. That's why we meet so many people, like a student and your friend, who may have suffered some anxiety disorder. Yeah, they get some maybe medicine and treatment, right? Yeah. So gender difference, women are more 2 to 3 times more likely to get diagnosed as an anxiety disorder. Why is that? Any guess? Any? The women has a higher percent of having some anxiety issues.
I don't know.
Yeah, statistically, maybe women worry more, I guess, or maybe more fearful, and
But
maybe
then that would mean what part of their brain's more active?
okay, maybe sensitive, their brain. Yeah.
Well, I was asking, you were saying women typically worry more. Does that mean part of their brain is more active than men on the worrying spectrum?
I'm not sure about the brain function, but women tend to like ruminate, kind of saying some bad things and kind of keep thinking of next one and next one too. And the men usually kind of become more maybe psychological and cultural issues too. Men supposed to be you're tough, do not cry. Yeah, but like a woman, it's okay. You can be cry and you can be worried about it, and kind of developing in that sense too.
It was kind of like whenever you were talking about women typically would worry about something and men would just try and fix it.
Yeah. And also psychological reason too. It's really depending on honestly that some women they're really don't care much of like a more tough kind of versus very kind of sensitive too. And the tendency wise, woman is more like whenever they have some some stressful situation, they tend to be like talk to somebody else, discuss together, and maybe it can be part of ruminating too. Say some worst case. Yeah, what if there's kind of competition this way and this way, worst case more and more, and the man is more like attacking the problem, solving the problem right away. What's the like a matter, right? So that kind of a tendency can be all together, but it's really depending on maybe individual difference too, right? Yeah. Okay, here, the reason can be illogical thought. Yeah, it's gonna be okay, but spider can bite me and I can die because it does have some poison, right? Some illogical thought, and learned in reinforcement and punishment too, because you learn maybe you experience turn on the stove and it was like almost burnt to your house. You learned, yeah, and you kind of do a couple of times, and you realize kind of having some like OCD, you really need to check everything is make sure and stove is turned down. I mean, that's okay whenever you leave your home, but the problem is you come back to check more and more often because of those experiences, right? And neuroticism, some of the people, they have a high neuroticism, having more depression and anxiety, high level of depression and anxiety. Even though same situation, they interpret more negatively about, even though it's the same things happen to them, right? And overprotecting parenting, maybe it can be, I do agree with that. My parents, they're more like overprotecting me, and Sarah, don't go, don't do that. It can be dangerous. So when I was young, I want to try to be more adventurous things, right? Maybe try to not fly, but kind of, maybe from little height, maybe some desk could maybe fall down and try to do some experiment with maybe outside. And they always warn me, Sarah, don't do that. That's dangerous and it can be hurt you, right? So always I kind of be cautious, and also become more anxious too, because whenever I try to do this, what if it happen? Maybe it can be broke and maybe I can get hurt. Yeah. So overprotecting parenting style can make you more anxious too. And genetic factors too. If your parents suffer anxiety, there are higher possibility you do suffer anxiety too. Yeah, but not everybody, but genetics is really big portion when you suffer psychological disorder. So Daniel, if you're thinking about all different kind of reasons, do you kind of agree with that overprotecting parents can kind of cause little anxious kids? Possibly?
I mean, yeah, I guess to a point. Just depends on how actually overprotective they are. Yeah.
Okay, good. So that was about the anxiety. So if you're kind of looking at the brain, let's talk about brain here. Brain abnormalities in terms of overactive amygdala and underactive prefrontal cortex, it causes some anxiety too. So we learned about whole brain. Do you kind of remember those frontal lobe and those, more the further part is prefrontal cortex, and here the middle part, amygdala, like
The
a
fear
side.
producing?
Yes.
Yeah, and then
Fear
the
producing.
prefrontals, which, like, decision making.
Yeah. So imagine you are very sensitive, overreacting amygdala, very sensitive, those, sense of fear than anybody else, kind of more fearful, even though maybe big dog kind of approaching to you, oh, it's just dog, I love dogs, and it can be okay, versus maybe that dog can bite me. The kind of overreacting amygdala. And the prefrontal cortex is underdeveloped, underactive, which means they do not have, clear decision making at the moment, and conscious level is kind of down. It can be overwhelming, right? So your amygdala keeps saying it's alert and alert, danger and danger, and your prefrontal lobe cannot make a right decision. So it's really worse, right? Feeling more fearful and anxious at the moment, right? Yeah. And I do believe, I will maybe take on that, maybe share maybe next week. Maybe woman has some kind of structure-wise, having more sensitive, those kind of fearful situation, structure-wise, those, emotion control their area is more kind of large, kind of more active comparing to the man. Maybe that's why woman having more, 2 to 3 times more having some anxiety. But I will double check that information relating with the brain function, because it seems like you're interested about that fact, okay? Yeah, so we can discuss more. So this time, let's move to the depression. So depressive and bipolar disorders. Have you ever heard about maybe your friends and maybe your family, maybe person who suffer depression? Yeah, depression and anxiety. Yeah. So I want to say depression and anxiety, those are really commonly happen psychological disorder. So anxiety is 30% people suffer, and depression is about 20%. So it's a little less, but still, depression is major psychological disorder. Even like college students, they do suffer. Yeah. So here, major depressive disorder. When you're thinking about depression, it's really hard. Some people can be a little gloomy and maybe not that, like a happy face all the time. But if you do suffer depression, that person cannot get out of their bed. They really need to get some help. And some of them, once they kind of stick to one of their, home, let's say maybe some bathroom. They may stay in the bathroom. They cannot come out of to the living room, because it's really hard and severe for them. One of the depressive symptoms too, very low motivation. It's really hard to move their body, feeling very lethargic, I guess, low energy and low motivation. If you do suffer more than 1 week and 2 weeks, definitely you need to check for that. Yeah, but I guess it can be because of some tragedy happen. Maybe your maybe parents, possibly maybe grandparents, you have a really strong relationship and engaging together, and maybe your parents and maybe grandparents maybe died. It can be cause of those. Maybe you love somebody else, maybe that person somehow some car accident and maybe died. Because of those deaths, you may suffer having very strong depression. Even like maybe tornado attack your house, yeah? So after that, you may suffer depression and cannot get out of your bed. So there are so many occasions you may suffer depression. Those are persistently happen. Persistent depressive disorder. We are not talking about 2 weeks. It's about 2 years. Yeah, it's not about 2 weeks and 2 months. It's about 2 years. So mild symptom. So it can be after tornado attack and maybe after death of your loving parents and maybe your spouse or maybe boyfriend and girlfriend, you may feel depressed. It's not a huge like up and down, but still mild symptom of this depression over 2 years. Those are symptoms of persistent depressive disorder, dysthymia. It can happen to people, yeah. And bipolar disorder, it's kind of up and down. Kind of up, yeah, very strong and high, and versus like low. Those are bipolar disorder. It can be really challenging because whenever you feel really high, you don't need to eat. You just kind of keep going and going. Maybe go shopping, go talking, and go some activities, and you don't need to even take a break. The problem is you will collapse. Next week, maybe after 2 weeks, you cannot do anything, like a very deep depressive mode. So you cannot get out of your bed. So it's kind of very opposite. It can be really hard. So bipolar disorder, it's the same thing, persistently happen like up and down over 2 years. Yeah, it can be the cyclothymic disorder too. Cyclothymic disorder too. So here, if you're thinking about major depressive disorder, you will have that symptom at least 2 weeks. And people may get some like a professional help around maybe 1 month because you cannot do your work, right? You're very down and very sad, and also you don't want to eat any food, yeah. And you maybe sleep. Sleeping can be one of the things. You just want to sleep. You just kind of give up and kind of keep sleeping because very low motivation. Yeah, that's relating all the symptoms of depression. Persistently can happen, kind of mild symptom, but more like chronologically over 2 years. So those are dysthymia. So here, if you're looking at here, bipolar disorder, manic stages or like a depressive like symptoms too. So have you ever thought about, the bipolar, it's kind of opposite, yeah, kind of suffering. Maybe manic station will be okay because you will be really productive when you have those manic stages. Have you ever maybe thought about people can be very creative whenever they experience some manic stages, but it will be like a collapse. Yeah, so those are, I heard about one of my friends, her son having very severe bipolar disorder, and he used to take the medicine and it kind of helps him to become like regulating his emotion. But his son decided not to take the medicine anymore because he really enjoys manic stages. So whenever he feels those mania, those definition-wise an emotional state of excessively elated mood and overabundant energy. So he really want to enjoy those manic stages. So try to not to take those medicine and kind of distance from his mom. It's not good, right? Eventually he need to get some treatment and some therapy and all things. But the problem is the manic stages and mania, it will not forever. It will go maybe 1 week and couple of days and maybe maximum maybe 2 weeks and collapse. And maybe you just kind of sleep your whole day. Yeah, it can be really hard, right? Having those people who suffer bipolar. So we need to understand. Yeah, we need to understand those people who suffer anxiety and depression and bipolar. So this is the great chapter. You can thinking about people who suffer psychological disorder and try to understand better. Okay. So cyclothymic disorder, it's like manic and depression over 2 years. Yeah, persistently having having those bipolar disorder. Okay, so here, who gets depressive and bipolar disorders? In the United States, about 20% of people having those depressive symptoms in your life. Yeah, so it's pretty commonly happen. Yeah. So here, maybe we will talk a little bit of biological factors, strong genetic links relating with major depressive symptoms. Maybe chemical imbalance among those serotonin and norepinephrine and dopamine level. If you have too much dopamine, that's not good too. If you have too much dopamine, people realize you may having some schizophrenia. Maybe that's the kind of possibility after I study about those. And very low dopamine level, it may cause some depression. Yeah, so try to make a good balance of serotonin level, maybe lower. Maybe you need to take the medicine and kind of enhance a little bit of serotonin level. It kind of help you having some reduce of depressive symptom too. So try to make a good chemical balance. That's the one of the thing. Taking the medicine, of course, therapy too. Yeah, counseling and therapy, and psychological factors. Illogical thought, pessimism, and cynicism, very negative toward anything happens around you. So positive outlook is really important. Yeah, be positive, and no matter what, if you are living, that's one of the really good blessings too. So try to kind of put our meaning of life because we are living, and that's still an amazing thing. So, but I guess people who suffer depression, they just kind of think about that whole situation as more like a catastrophe. Yeah, maybe it will be forever in that way. There's no way to overcome my situation, so become really depressed. Yeah. Those are more like a psychological maybe factors we can think about it. So depressive schema and rumination, they can be the part of ruminating, thinking about one's perceived shortcomings and failure over and over again. Comparing to a male, female, I mean statistically, and having more tendency having some rumination. Maybe that can be the one of the reason suffer some anxiety and depression too. And the social media is a really big thing too. So, nowadays, influencer, do you have like your favorite influencer when you can looking at the Facebook, maybe some Instagram? Not really. Yeah, me neither. But for the teenagers, like a younger generation, they really look up their influencer. Yeah, but I guess usually the girls and female population having more negative influence from the influencer, and also more sensitive toward exposing themselves, putting on the social media, and kind of suffering about those relating with all the ruminating too. Yeah, maybe how bad my clothing and maybe my maybe face and those body shape, and it can be really challenging because maybe high standard. Yeah, in terms of those kind of appearance wise too. So it can be having more anxiety and depressive symptom too. Okay, so we have a couple of minutes, but I can talk a little bit about next one. So next one is about eating disorders. We will talk more detailed information. Not this Thursday. We don't have a class this Thursday, but you need to take the exam Friday. It's covering chapter 10, 11, and 12. Right? So chapter 13, 14, 15 will be our last exam, right? So eating disorder, have you ever heard about the eating disorder? Somebody suffers some eating disorder in your life? You heard of it? Yeah? Maybe close friend and maybe relatives having some eating disorder?
I mean, not really, but I've definitely heard of it.
You heard of it? Yeah. So population-wise, comparing to depression and anxiety, it's not that high, but it's kind of growing population. I kind of explain a little bit about, usually it happens for junior high and high school, some adolescent girls, because they have a perfect, they have a standard. They have their criteria, influencers, right? And one time I kind of saw some like a TikTok, Instagram, and that the girl was really thin, And if you be like me, just kind of be thin and healthy. So somehow she kind of connected thin and healthy. But American society, we really kind of value a little more like a thinning, like a thinness than like a more like a obese and maybe fatness. So it can be really challenging for little girls when they're kind of going through junior high and high school. I need to be thin, maybe thinner. Yeah, so it's related with that concept, eating disorder. There are 3 and maybe more different types of eating disorder, which is anorexia nervosa, bulimia nervosa, and binge eating disorder. And some of them, those are like usually it's developing from also the men as well. I really want to have some clean diet. Clean diet means not much fat involved, no artificial flavor, and I really want to be like a very clean and good diet. So the problem is when you go to a restaurant, there's not much food you do order. So maybe do not eat, and maybe you really need to cook at home all the time. So having having a hard time to get along with other people because of the food. So we will talk more about relating with eating disorders next Tuesday. But remember, next Tuesday is Thanksgiving holiday too. So we are gonna meet December 2nd. Okay, yeah. Do you go somewhere else during the Thanksgiving holiday? No, you're gonna stay
We
here?
got family over here.
Yeah, I'm gonna stay here too. So have a great Thanksgiving holiday, and don't
too.
forget to take the exam this Friday.
All right.
Okay, good. Have a great day. Thank you.
Safe travels.
Yeah, thank you.